Yo, chosen ones. How we doing? How we doing tonight? We got a great message for you. Esta noche, un mensaje para ustedes. ¿Están lista? Yeah, let me hear it for who's lista. Let me hear it for who's ready. This message is going to be very powerful, so I hope you're ready. It's about being content. Contentment has been on my mind a lot recently. I'll tell you a quick story. I took a trip to Peru, when I was 19 with my school, and we did this exercise every morning where we went around the circle, and all of my classmates, and including myself, gave a couple of feeling words for like how we were feeling and checking in with ourselves emotionally. I think her name was Jess. She said something that stuck with me ever since. And she said that she was content, and I remember like being in shock. I was like, I have never felt that way. I'm always like thinking, how could I, for one, I'm pretty hard on myself. Or if I have everything, I'm still not satisfied. And that's feedback that I've gotten from a former best friend who was very wise for her age and gave me that feedback once we were driving. She said, "You're never satisfied." So chronic dissatisfaction, I think, is kind of run rampant as well in our society. I don't think it's just my problem, but I'm aware of it for myself individually. I think that society is constantly, media, whether it be social media or advertisements that we see, like for me in Times Square, like there's a lady with a purse, and then I'm like, oh, I should get a purse like that. It's like constant reinforcement that I could have this thing, but I don't have it. Even the example of a store having a sale, you think, oh, that's like a good deal. Like that kind of drives you to think like I should spend my money now. And I'm just so glad that we have like the Word of God to refer to, because I think contentment can be easily aligned in our lives if we strive for it. And I think it would bring a lot of happiness, or balance even. I think it would bring balance. It doesn't necessarily have to be happy or sad. Like we can just be content even when things aren't all the way figured out. But yeah, my classmate Jess, just like she said, I feel content. And I've never forgotten that. And the way she said it, we were like 1600 feet up in the Andes Mountains, and it was like sunrise still, and such a beautiful memory of her saying I'm content, and me being like, I strive to be able to say that one day. And that was 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Literally 7 years ago. Holy smokes. Wow, time goes by fast. Beautiful. So here I am, 7 years later, finally striving for that, and hopefully being able to accomplish that more and more every day. And I hope that it can empower you as well to practice contentment. Let's go ahead and refer to some of the verses I wrote down. Let's see, we got 1 Timothy 6:6 through 8. Now there is a great gain in godliness with contentment. For we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. Pretty good point. Now there is a great gain in godliness with contentment. That makes sense, right? It's pretty cool. Hebrews 13:15. Keep your life from love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. I'm really glad we're doing this message tonight. I feel like this is really going to help. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. You're great. Proverbs 15:16. Better is a little with the feet. Better is a little with the feet? Doesn't make sense. Of the Lord than great. Oh, wait. Oh, better is a little with the fear. Oh my gosh. My handwriting. Have Jesus' feet in your life and everything will be A-okay. Better is a little with the fear of the Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble with it. That I wrote down specifically thinking about, I don't know who, I think New Breed or TJJ, somebody did a video on fame, and no, it was New Breed, his like most recent video, how fame, but yeah, like, you know, can be problematic and embroil other issues into one's life. So better is a little with the fear of the Lord. Yeah, totally. Than great treasure and trouble with it. Man, that's so good. Proverbs 15:16. I mean, yeah, my parents always said live below your means. We grew up big households, so there was one year there wasn't enough money for sports even. Humble beginnings, and I'd still like to remain humble till the day I die. I'd like to have a very simple life. Yeah, I want a very simple life. I don't want, I mean, this is like a great verse to refer to, you know, when there's great times ahead and I want to remain like centered and grounded and like remember, my academic advisor said too, like remember who you are. She's the best. I have so many great ladies in my life. So sweet. Super glad we're doing this message because, yeah, there is a great gain in godliness with contentment. And I think, you know, I wonder what the actual definition of contentment is. We're only at 8 minutes. I could go get my laptop and look it up. Let's look. Yeah, just give me a second. I'll be right back. Okay, super appreciate your patience. We got the laptop. We got, I'm kind of in the mood for this Coke. Let's look it up. Hope everyone had a good day. And if not, there's prayer to be had in this video that I so pray will bring encouraging and healing for y'all. Let's see, contentment. Definition. Okay. A state of happiness and satisfaction. Let's look up the root word of content in Greek or Latin. Let's see what we got. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so in medieval medieval Latin, contentare, both from Latin contentus, is meaning contained. Contained. That is so interesting. That is so interesting. Satisfied. Oh, word. And then from the 1400s, literally held or contained within limits. Hence, having the desire limited to present enjoyment. Whoa, mind boggle. Mind boggle. Whoa, having the desire limited to, boom, yo. Yeah, you know what? This makes me think of a quote. I don't know if any of y'all follow Aaron Dowdy. Is that how you say his last name? But there's this guru that I forget his name. It's like kind of hard to pronounce. It's kind of hard to pronounce, but he's like a life guru. And I looked up, and Aaron Dowdy was talking about. He listed a couple of authors, of writers, and life philosophers that discussed different perspectives of life and their way of doing it, and what brought them enlightenment and peace and tranquility. And one of the guys, these gurus, I thought it was very interesting. He said, man does not really need entertainment. Man ought to be able to just look at bamboo and watch it grow. Like, man doesn't really need entertainment. And if there's any reason that man needs I'm paraphrasing, by the way. If there's any man that does need entertainment, this man, for better or less words, it was little like, this man is like mentally unwell. I mean, it was a little harsh and like an extreme like quote, but it was like insanity. It was kind of implying that insanity requires or incentivizes entertainment. And I think in our, oh my gosh, this coat is so cozy. I think in our modern day world, entertainment is so there. I mean, it could be even the advertisements. Entertainment is honestly becoming the modern form of communication. I don't know if you noticed, but stand-up comedy has gotten like more and more popular, especially post-pandemic. I also brought my Bible. So, if you think about it, like we sit down and we don't look to the left or the right or admire the art on the wall in front of us. We sit down and pull out our phone. And there's everything there that we need. There's that entertainment, there's that communication. It's not always bad to have your phone. I'm not like super anti-phone, just mostly anti-phone and social media, but I, use it to an extent for business reasons, but and emotional texting like family and friends and just like, hey, love you, that's sweet, that's nice. So I think that one guru had a point that like if we're content, we ought to be able to just sit in front of us, look at the bamboo, and watch it grow, and be at peace with that. I just came from outside and was doing a little bit of boarding, and it felt so good, like literally so blessed to live right by this river parkway where the paths are super nice and perfect for cruising. I get to just go full speed, and there's some wicked hills. I was like, I'm about to eat SHIT right now. But I somehow managed to go, like, down these hills that had, like, big bumps, and I was flying, man. I don't know how I never Oh, I guess I'm experienced on the board, and I've done quite a few hills, but it's wicked. They're like, it's like here's the river, and the hills are like leading down to the river, but it's still like a good decline. I'm like, feel like a little surfer, like when I'm like balancing and stuff. Like I just love getting my exercise that way. Yeah, being content, like that's huge for me, for someone who's very sensitive, and for someone who's very hard on themselves. Being an empath, and for someone who's kind of always curious about what's next, or what more could I do, how could I have done this better, like always inquisitive like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That makes me a great essayist, that makes me a great interviewer, that makes me a great journalist. But I think reining in that idea of contentment, and going back to the root word of 1400s, like to see 1400 literally held or contained within limits. Right here, this comes from the 1570s, and it's quoted, cited by Shakespeare. It says, "Content, state of mind which results from satisfaction with present circumstances." Yeah. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with gratitude. If I was content with everything right now, that kind of means in the same vein, I would be grateful for it too, right? If I'm content with a quarter left of this Coke left in the bottle, then that means I'm pretty darn glad that I have any Coke at all, right? Having the desire limited to present enjoyment. So, you know what? This is a beautiful message. I'm so glad that I really asked God. I was like, what should I talk about today, God? Like in the videos. And it also comes from my own heart of like what I'm going through too. But I also really try hard to listen what He wants me to talk about, because the whole point of this channel is to share a message bigger than myself and help the world, change the world. I was looking back through some old journals and writings, and I really have written that so many times where I'm like, I know I'm going to change the world somehow. I know I'm like, I am destined for greatness. And I've seen it written a couple of different times, and I can see I learn about myself going back through my old journals and old lyrics or old fiction writings, because some of the main characters, they're like there to make a dent in the universe type of thing. And it's a really truly beautiful thing to give your heart to God and say, like, let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Yeah, I said that right. And it takes away the ego, because I can be arrogant. I can be. There's always like that balance. Always that balance. That is so good to stay in check. And so the contentment. Like, I'm so glad we're doing this message. Thanks so much for tuning in, yo. Like, this is beautiful. Like, I'm so happy that it seems to, like, be helping some. I think so. Yeah, like, it really feels like I'm stepping into my purpose, and there's nothing better than that feeling. There's nothing better than that feeling. And understanding, like, words and looking it up, like, shout out to Acer940. I know you like that. It's just cool. Like, I just have that inquisitive mind. Shout out to all subs right now, yo, for being a part of the channel. I appreciate it. Always a big goal of mine to be a leader, and happy to share thoughts and, most importantly, the Word of God on how we can navigate this thing called life. And this comedian last night, I was just meeting him briefly. and he was on his way out to go do a show. Dean David. He said, enjoy the journey of the movie that you're in. I might be paraphrasing loosely, but something about like how we're kind of like all in our own movies in a way, like our lives are kind of like our own movie, and enjoy the journey of the movie that you're in. So that was pretty solid. Let's see what else we got. The quality or state of being contented. Contentment is an emotional state of satisfaction that can be seen as a mental state drawn from being at ease in one's situation, body, and mind. I feel like this is one of the best words in the entire dictionary. Like, we could all practice this. I think it's okay to realize that we're not easily content in a society where it's buy now and pay off in certain increments, or get the new version of the iPhone, buy a new wardrobe because you can't possibly wear the same article of clothing twice. There's so much pressure, exterior influences in our, I feel like I say society a lot in our this vlog and channel. Society. But it's a big factor on how we're shaped. And I think that, obviously capitalism has a big part in contentment and the lack thereof. I think if one is living in a capitalist society, the go-to feeling is honestly feelings of anxiousness and feelings of more. How can I get more? It's the hedonistic treadmill. This is another conversation we had when I was in Peru. You know what, you guys? I just got the coolest idea. I feel like I just got a crazy look in my eye. I remembered in Peru that we didn't use electricity. We used candles. And I kind of want to light a candle in honor of this great message tonight. And I keep leaving in the middle of the video. Sorry. I will be literally right back. I'm going to get a candle. Count to 10. I'll be there. Ha. Back before 10 seconds. Okay. I'm going to light the candle and then turn off the light. See this beautiful angel? Look at her. We're going to call her Penelope. Look how nice this is. Oh my gosh, I love this. I am content. I'm going to manifest feelings of contentment. And I can't believe, I don't know how God brought me to this. What did I look up? I remember I was talking to him today. In my mind, I was like, God, what do you want me to talk about today in the video? And I wasn't sure when I was going to fit it in, but I looked up Bible verses on being content. God is so beautiful. I don't understand how he has the time to listen to me and the resources and energy to do everything for literally everyone else too. Isn't that almost overwhelming to consider how he does that? It's because we're human. We wouldn't be able to do what he does. That's why we should fear him. New Breed also talked about how, I can't remember exactly where in the Bible, but that God actually has the ability. Story time. I feel like I'm talking over candlelight. God has the ability to send evil spirits if he so chooses. And I think we are all kind of under the impression that evil spirits come from the devil. But, it goes back to Genesis. God created light from the darkness. So if there was darkness, God created light and the darkness. So if he's the creator of light and darkness, don't you think that he can send the darkness if he needs to? That makes sense. So, seriously, I'm in awe of God's multitasking skills. Let's just say. I didn't write them down. I wrote these down because I thought I was going to do Bible study outside. but ended up coming back in and getting warm, getting this coat and beanie on, because I just went outside with this like t-shirt, and I love getting like exercise and I'm like a little cold. I don't know why I love that so much. It makes me feel, I don't know, it does something primitive, man. It does. I love being just a little bit cold and hearing my breath and getting some exercise. Like, there's nothing better than that feeling. I'm gonna tell you, like, it makes me feel like I don't know, like, I just love to move my body. I love to run. I love to get exercise and movement and just hear my breath and feel the climate. It just, there's something about so magical and healing about nature. Thank you, Jesus. Let's see, we got, Galatians 5:16. But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Wait, hold on. I'm really digging this candle vid right now. This is cool. The shirt. This means hello, I think, in Swedish. I'm pretty sure. I'm a big fan of languages and travel, so. Let's see. But I say walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Okay, word. Okay, word. That goes a lot with the devotion Bible study we did last night. It was like 3 a.m., yo. That was wicked. That was a really radical Bible study last night, because it was talking about becoming one with the flesh. And if we walk by the Spirit, you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. So that can also, that can go back to materialism. There's nothing wrong if you want to spend $500 on a Gucci t-shirt and you feel bomb in it and you're gonna have like literally the best day. Go for it. It's your hard-earned money, and it's just a reminder here that if you have the Spirit within you, you won't feel like the obligation to buy the materialistic items, the expensive cars, expensive watches, to fill a void. It will just be a bonus. If you know what I'm saying? Like, it'll just be like a bonus. It'll be like the cherry on top. But if you have like the Trinity in you, the Holy Trinity in you, the Spirit, like you're content, we're good. Like, back to 1 Timothy 6:6-8. Now there is great gain in godliness with contentment. For we brought nothing into the world, we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. So God is saying, like, yes, there's like the basic necessities. I would probably add in there shelter. I think God probably implies that. And they've done studies too. I've done research and studies with some classmates on. There's a lot of money put into the research of happiness, which says a lot about our society. And you know what I'm saying? And they found out that over 60,000 a year, people weren't really happier. So long as they had the basic necessities, over $60,000 income, people weren't really happier unless they had like the interpersonal relationships that were super high quality and beautiful and intimate and behoove each other's success and mental and heart and all of those areas. They've done studies. I did a study. I did a presentation to my class based off of parenting, and this was for my psychology of communication conflict, psychology of communication via conflict, in conflict. One of the best teachers I've ever had. And it was based off of how parents either raise their children with negative or positive primals, and some who teach their kids the world is a dangerous place, like don't talk to strangers, bad things can happen if you take risks, the world's a bad place, versus parents who raise their children with positive primals and say, for the most part, the world is good and people are well-meaning. There is a difference in the outcomes for those generations succeeding their parents. I just had like a dank meal before this, so burpee burp, but Gucci gooch. And the kiddos that were taught the positive primals were generally happier in interpersonal relationships, were generally more successful in jobs that they desired, not jobs that they felt obligated to go into, and had longer lasting interpersonal relationships in general. So being content and happiness, it comes back to what we feed our own echo chamber. And I mean, yeah, I would really take it easy on yourself if you're like, why am I not content? I think for the most part, most of us are tricked into thinking that we need the luxury condo with the penthouse suite, because comparison is rampant more than ever now, especially with the acceleration and augmentation of social media, and the what is it called, FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, I remember, I guess Peru is really coming to me tonight, but we went and visited a family, and they hosted us for an evening for dinner, and they showed us their home, and just a fun little side tip here, like, fun fact, a lot of Peruvians keep guinea pigs in their own homes, and it's a delicacy. And we all took a trip up the ladder and looked up the attic, like all my classmates, and we saw just like little guinea pigs moving around in the dark on the top of the attic, and like there's like the living room and dining room down here, but that house had only 3 walls. They were so content and kind and beautiful people. And like there's this book I read about some like 3 American women who took a big trip and traveled, and I believe it was in they visited all over, but they went to South America, and literally it was an event for the community to go out together and watch the sunrise on the beach. Now that's contentment. Like that's the world's natural entertainment. Isn't that beautiful? Like it's kind of it'll throw you a little bit sometimes to go and travel, because you come back home and you realize how much we have and how much you have, like, in life, and people have literally barely to nothing, but they're happy in life. Content. So let's see. The main message of this vid is like contentment. I believe it comes from within. It's something I'm working on even through this video as we're working on it and talking about it. But it's something that I would really like to work on myself. Like, that contentment is like, I'm so glad it's a word that exists, because I think up until now, I don't think I've been satisfied. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that sounds not like that, but like I think there's always like, I'm always thinking, how could I be better? How could I be quicker? You know, I think I'm like a economical person. Like, I think to myself, could I have done this in a more effective, efficient way? Like, efficiency is a big priority for me. Working smarter, not harder, right? So yeah, to really take it easy, because I think our society really feeds it into us that we ought to be, something more, something less. And comparison is the thief of joy, and there's so much augmentation of visual cues of what it is that we ought to attain. And in a society where really three families in America own, I believe it's like three families in America are the ones that attain and hold like most of America's wealth. I'm writing an article right now on it, and I wish I had the stats better off the tip of my tongue, but essentially like 99% of the world or 98% of the world is grabbing the last straws of the bucket to cope and to pay rent and to pay bills and to keep clothing on their back and to keep food in their stomachs. So it is a rigged system in America, like the capitalism society, like economically speaking. Actually, I can pull it up right now. It's called Don't Feel Bad If You're Broke. I'm gonna publish it at the end of this month. Be good. Be very good. Cool. Taking forever to load. LOL. Okay. We're going to do a quick prayer too, but I'm really curious about these facts that I wrote down. It comes from actually an infographic comic. I really like to read comics, and it's an excellent infographic on explaining economics, which is a very hard subject. Here we go. Yeah. April 16th is my last edit. Let's see what we got. Great. Yes. It's a Blaylock's infographic called Where Dat Money. For a century, our currency supply remained level, increasing only ever so slightly. This was largely in part because, as written in the Constitution, our money was required to be tied to the supply of gold America owned. So cool. So cool. Oh, love. So it was required to be tied to the supply of gold America owned, preventing the dangers of having a blank checkbook. Word. There it is. It took forever. According to an infographic comic by Josh Blaylock, 3 families in America control more wealth than the bottom half of the country. 3 versus 162 million people. So don't feel bad if you're like, why can't I afford anything? Because literally it's 162 million people that are like scrapping at the straws of the bucket for what is left over, where 3 families in America control more wealth than the bottom half of the country. And I'm sure you guys all learned in like stats class and economics class that there is like a high elite that owns most of the wealth in the country. And it gets even more deep when we go into like the economics and the history. It gets, yeah, because like for a century, our currency supply remained level. I already read that. It's also about inflation. There's a whole lot to it. Like, according to a Forbes article, Who Benefits from Inflation? It is stated that those who have locked in a variable interest rates, like those with credit card debt, for example, suffer the most from inflation. And it comes as no shock that we're all on edge with the consumer price index sitting just above 8%. Inflation is the key example of a zero-game summation, where there are losers and winners, and this concept aggravates the already searing tension in society and those who have a higher economic standing than others, which is why inflation tends to lead to an increase of crime as well. Inflation is the least forgiving for consumers, retirees, and big-time savers. I'll publish the rest of this so you guys can read it yourselves, but I love to write, and it's so great to learn, too, about the history of money and The last thing I'll say about it is, for the sake of brevity, this article analyzed the origins of money starting from the early 21st century. Although it started much earlier, a major turning point for the American economy was in 1913 when the U.S. government gave up the right to print money and then distributed the right to a private entity called the Federal Reserve, operated by the nation's largest banks and several anonymous investors. So it doesn't actually, it's not federal, it's literally a private entity, but they call it federal. How does that make any sense? Operated by the nation's largest banks and several anonymous investors. So when we have a structure and we're coming from a history like that, of course we're not going to feel content. Like we're gonna be scrabbling at the bucket for 162 million people in America. Like, so interesting. Inflation is so rampant right now. So don't feel bad if you're having a hard time being content with what you have. Let's go ahead and do a prayer. Thanks for listening, guys, and thanks for keeping up with my ADHD brain and just like curious about everything. I want to talk about all the topics. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you so much for this fun topic that we have tonight. I pray that we are able to grapple with the challenge of being content with you, God, and being completely content with our lives, because you gave us this life. You gave us the looks that we have. You made us in your image. Help us be content with our housing situation, with our relationships that we have. Not to say that we'll be complacent, Lord, but that we use the strength that you give us to practice the limits of what's present in front of us and enjoy what's present in front of us, Lord, because that's a gift. And if we think too much about the future, we think too much about our past and regret our past, and we think too anxious about the future, honestly, the future and the past, they're both lies because they aren't existing anymore. What is present in front of us is what we are most in control of, Lord. So I pray that you give us the strength to enjoy the present moment, breathe in, breathe out, listen to the birds, be mindful, Lord, and honestly, be content with like our purpose in life, and be content with like the people that are drawing us to our purpose, Lord. And I pray too that we're even content in our tribulations, Lord, because we know that they're there to make us greater and better for you and exalting your name, Jesus. We love you so much, and like I can't even believe how much stronger I feel every time, every day after doing these Bible studies with you, God, and being able to share it with the world. We thank you for the practice and the ability and the knowledge of the word content, and how that strengthened our love for you tonight, Lord Jesus. We thank you again for hearing this prayer, and we pray for protection and safety and healing as well, Lord. Thank you so much. We love you. We want to once again thank you for hearing this prayer as always. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. Love you so much. I got warm now. I'm wearing that jacket, but I was like having fun. Late night boarding is literally the best. Literally the best. So, guys, love you so much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for keeping up with my silly goofiness and kind of sporadicness. But it's me, and I love y'all, and I really appreciate y'all tuning in. So, you know what comes next. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Stay chosen.